Hello everyone, this is Imprisoned Shadow bringing you another exciting video. Today I'll be talking and giving my first impressions of the newest Pokemon game to drop, Pokémon Champions. If you are unaware, Pokémon Champions is Game Freak's official version of Pokémon Showdown, which is a Pokemon PvP simulator and was the mainstay for many years, which this may or may not be a huge stretch to call it that, but we'll get into it. Before trying it out for the first time, I had immediately heard that this game was already shrouded with controversy and negativity. Is it warranted? Let's find out. Again, I'm Imprisoned Shadow, and if you haven't heard of me, that's not very surprising. I have never been a big figure in the Pokemon community, and the last time I played Pokemon in any kind of competitive sense was back during the Pokemon Online, Black and White, and X and Y era for a bit. So it kind of goes without saying that a lot has changed within the realm of Pokemon, with new abilities, moves, typings, matchups, and more importantly, tons of new Pokemon. Yeah, I kind of have that boomer energy where I'm starting to forget names of the newer Pokemon, so I think that my stance in this video can give you a bit more of a casual insight of what it's like to be playing this game in 2026, and what it's like seeing what the competitive scene may look like in the future. As mentioned, this game's purpose is to mainstream and take over how competitive Pokemon VGC will work from now on, with a big emphasis on accessibility. Keyword accessibility. This game makes training Pokemon to their full potential incredibly easy and save you a lot of time for the most part, allowing you to have full creative control of the Pokemon, their stats, movesets, abilities, as well as their EVs, which are just those wacky numbers that go up on the stats that are most suited to that Pokemon. I'll leave the scope of that out of this video. And this game will also have presets for those Pokemon you can use. The ability to transfer Pokemon from previous games with home is also really awesome. If you have any Pokemon that are already trained and ready to go, transferring them is a breeze. Plus Champions gives you the ability to edit them as well, with the in-game currency of course. Note, these edits only affect Pokemon in Champions and won't affect them if you put them back to other games. There are two types of battle formats in the game currently. Solos, doubles, in the casual and ranked modes. Sadly, no triples, but that's just because Game Freak hates peak, I guess. I'm sure other modes and stuff will be released in the future. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of what this video is really all about. Is this game truly bad, or worthy of the negativity thus far? And the quick and easy answer, as usual, yes and no. So yeah, this game is solely based on PvP. That means there is basically no type of single-player content whatsoever, guys. No stadium gym challenges, no battle cup formats, CPU battles, etc, etc. Not even any mini-games. What you see is what you get. I honestly think that there being no type of single-player gameplay is a bit of a shock, but if you're following what this game advertises, it really makes sense, and shouldn't be flamed for cutting that type of content out. Beyond that, a huge issue right away is that there's a pretty limited pool of Pokemon and battle items in the game, all of which, if you don't use home or previous games, getting them can be a bit of a chore, as this game has the gacha style element and will allow you to obtain Pokemon daily for free through a random lineup, which honestly isn't that bad, but if you wanted to create many teams and combinations, you're going to be fairly limited. You're also probably going to be waiting a while before you could use some of your favorite Pokemon as well, if they're niche or part of a stage 1 or 2 evolution line for the most part. Basically, no baby Pokemon and only the elite are allowed in, for lack of a better term, I guess. However, I don't see that as much of a bad thing. Remember, the keyword I used earlier was accessibility. So with this being their approach to this game, it makes sense that they're taking things slow and releasing things somewhat separately. The game also gives you a fair amount of currency, aka VP, through the in-game missions to have a good amount of variety in what you can work with right away. There's also a starter pack and a battle pass that gives you more options, Pokemon accessibility, Pokemon box storage, and more. Although, to be honest, if you have previous Pokemon game experience and things to transfer, this is ultimately rather useless. At least at the moment. Not saying you should or shouldn't buy it, but just it doesn't seem worth it at the moment. I don't know, do what you want, I guess. That's just my opinion. But this was a big complaint upon the first trailers of the game, and the worry that this would be a pay-to-win fest. But with the pace it's doing things right now, I wouldn't necessarily call it pay-to-win. It just kind of helps you with preparation. I think this can entice a lot of people to try and use only rental Pokemon and a free-to-play style as a challenge for climbing ranked, which would be pretty cool to watch, honestly. Another criticism I saw within the community was performance, and boy, do I agree with this one. There were many instances in-game riddled with frame drops, lag, input delay, which, okay, had some to do with I was playing on OBS, which naturally has input delay, but this felt even worse. And I even had a soft lock happen during the first tutorial of the game, where my game just lagged out and rebooted me to the Switch 2 home menu. I was naturally very shocked when this happened. Huh? Wow. Okay. Thankfully, this was the only time that happened, but I had a lot of, like, laggy moments, so yeah. Now, this is more of a personal gripe with the game, but I was honestly super disappointed with the customization for your trainer in this game, and other things such as battle music and whatever else is out currently. Like, these are some of the most hideous outfits for Pokemon trainers I've ever seen, even worse than some of the Pokemon Go outfits, and I was never really a big fan of this trend to make, you know, these trainers wear this sporty spandex gear and stuff. I don't know, I love the older look of Pokemon trainers a lot more and feel like the personality is lacking and just blending in with each other so nothing stands out or feels personal nowadays. This game isn't the only one to do this. It's something that has been a problem since Go and is all over games like Unite and stuff. My frustration is amplified even more because some of the original characters in this game look absolutely amazing. And yeah, what the heck is the problem with the lack of music? There is such a lack of music that even some of the in-game titles for tracks in the game are just empty. Why is that? You're telling me they couldn't at least have 2 tracks for each, like, title? Ugh, I found this inexcusable, guys. But I know that this is where they also want you to put in some of your hard-earned doubloons and to customize it all to your liking. Ugh, I guess they gotta pay their bills some way, huh? Now, through my experience playing, I honestly had a great time, with some of the issues not really hindering my enjoyment any, and felt that a smaller pool of Pokemon and items made getting back into the PvP vibe a lot smoother and more inviting, which again is probably their main goal with this. Things will obviously get more in-depth as they release it, so even if you're new, as long as you play on and off, you should be able to learn and adapt to how the metas and playstyles change over time, as well as learning what Pokemon from generations old and new are capable of. I was naturally caught off guard a lot of the time from certain Pokemon like Meowscarada and just how monstrous they can be. But I've also returned the favor with Pokemon like Politoed and my old school style of Dragonite. So if you've ever felt on the fence about learning Pokemon PvP or just giving it a try, this is a fantastic place to start, especially since the game alone is free and you won't be forced to play on just the Switch, as mobile versions of the game are also announced. At the end of the day, I'd say that this is definitely worth a try and seeing if it's something you'd like to get into. If not, there's always Pokemon Showdown and other games. If this style of competitive or PvP play is not what you're into, there's always ZA, which had completely refined the battle style formula and is a different experience entirely. Which is something I still have yet to try, but I think that game just got home compatibility, so I might do that pretty soon. Who knows? But yeah, guys, that is my first impressions of Pokemon Champions. Do I like it? Do I hate it? I like it. I don't hate it. I think I like it. There's obviously some things I'm disappointed with, but overall, it does what it's advertised to do, and I think it does it in such a way that it's good for newer players, which I basically am, so I like it. I can understand, though, that if, you know, you're a seasoned veteran of Pokemon competitive, that this is just, like, you're still waiting for it to get to that caliber of, like, Showdown or something, but I think that it's good to have this, especially if it's going to be the mainstay from now on, that it should be accessible and, you know, be good for other people to join. But it could be a little problematic with the pay to win aspect that may power creep on later. So I don't know. basically, I would say give it a try. It doesn't hurt to try things, guys. Just feel free to give it a shot. So yeah, that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. It means a lot. Feel free to like and subscribe. Leave me some comments as well as what your first impressions are of this game. What are your hopes for the future of it? And do you have high hopes or, you know, low hopes for, you know, for the future? Please feel free to let me know. And until next time, guys. Peace.